Things are gonna get crazy!
Most everyone's mad here.
And it's time to commence the show once again. Welcome, everybody, to AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast, in which, yes, we are back to our regularly scheduled program. No more breaks, no more special editions or whatever. We are back to doing what we do best, which is checking out the latest animation news and some entertainment and some that's just all around the world, all the things that are happening that's just pure and crazy. We are here to talk about it here in AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How is everyone doing? And I hope you are all comfortable here now that we have entered upon 2022. We have started a brand new year, so we could start fresh and we can hope for the best, or at least better than what we have experienced in the last 2 years. Now, I know that so far I have started off on the right foot, and just want to give out a quick little update, and this is something that happened on my main channel. For the first time in years, I finally have another video in which it has surpassed 1 million views. Yes, I am proud to say that my History of Caillou video is now my second video I've ever done in which it has officially surpassed 1 million views, which I'm not gonna lie, I never expected that with that video in particular. It took a little while though. It took less than a year to achieve that milestone, but hey, here we are right now, and I was hoping that maybe I could achieve that million view mark before 2021, but hey, I'm 10 days late, but still, at least I got it, so I'm definitely happy for that. And also, I just want to go and mention quickly, considering that there is also another part in which 2022 was a bit off to a pretty bad start, especially since at the end of the year in 2021, we did lose Betty White, and also starting this year, we have lost a legendary actor, Sidney Poitier. And just yesterday, or the day before that I am recording this, we did lose Bob Saget as well, in which I personally find that to be the most tragic, at least compared to Betty White and Sidney Poitier. At least you could say that Betty and Sidney, they both lived full lives. Bob Saget, unfortunately, he died at the age of 65. I don't know if there is a confirmation to why he passed away, but still, it is pretty painful. And all these deaths are unfortunately tragic, but let's just hope that 2022 is not a repeat of what we have seen with 2016, where a whole bunch of stars have fallen. So let's just hope for the best, and it's just a bad coincidence that happened at the start. But still, it is very sad, especially when the comedy community has been mourning so far of the passing of Bob Saget, especially when he is such a legend in his own field, not only with his stand-up routines and being a lot more raunchy than anyone could expect, but also with his great performance as Danny in Full House, or even being the host of America's Funniest Home Videos. That dude was the host of YouTube before YouTube was even a thing. So may Bob Saget, Betty White, and Sidney Poitier rest in peace. So that's just something I want to talk about to start things off, and to get that out of the way to show my respects for it. Okay, but anyways, with all that said and done, now that we do have that out of the way, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, are you all prepared to get things started? Are you ready to enter 2022 with AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? Let me see it, folks. Let me hear it. Let's see now. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes, yes. I'm ready to forget my sister is oh, I am so sorry for your sister. I mean, I have a few friends myself that unfortunately did catch COVID as well. But they are getting better, fortunately. But I do hope for the best for you and your family. But anyways, Let's hope that we are all prepared for this, but I think we are all set. So now, with all that said and done, I think it is time that we shall go and get things started. And with our first story that we have for you today, we are going to talk about what is the biggest event of last night, or the night before that I am recording this. Or I mean, technically, but then again, a lot of people are starting to care less and less and less about it. But still, though, I do believe that it is still worth talking about, considering that this is supposed to be the thing that should officially launch award season, that should get us right into it to know who are going to be the big winners following after this. So with that said and done, let's go right into it and start things off by talking about the Golden Globes. Now, the Golden Globes had a very interesting year, or last night, it was actually unique in what they have done in order to present the Golden Globes. In other words, they didn't do a single thing in order to present the Golden Globes. No show, no nothing. Considering that NBC bailed out of presenting the Golden Globes, no celebrity wanted to present any of the categories. The best that they could do, and there was at one point they considered, okay, we're just going to go and make like a little live stream presentation. No, not even that. They just went and actually made announcements on social media. Just say, all right, here are the categories and here's the winner. Like, just go and do that one by one. And honestly, I'm just going to go and say that. I'm just going to say this right now. Honestly, I thought that, like, I was actually ready to go and make a joke about it. I was prepared to go and say that last night was the greatest Golden Globe show that we've ever had in recent years. But even at that, I've heard a lot of criticisms from people saying that apparently the Golden Globes couldn't even get social media right. Apparently the way that they've handled it on social media was just a flat out mess. So it really was just this completely derped up moment for Golden Globes. It really was something that you just see how they presented it all, and it really was just, yeah, it was like that bad. But anyways, no time to go and delay this even further. You probably are wondering right now, who are the big winners of this year's Golden Globes? Well, let me just go and start off with the TV shows and the series out of the way. And apparently the two big ones were Succession and Hacks, where Succession actually got 3 Golden Globes, where it won for Best TV Drama, along with winning Best Actor for Jeremy Strong. And also, there was another one that I just want to double check. Yes, it is Best TV Supporting Actress, which is given to Sarah Snook. And as for Hacks, that actually won for Best TV Musical or Comedy, along with Best Actress in a TV Musical or Comedy for Jean Smart. The other winners include The Underground Railroad for Best Miniseries or Television Film. There's also MJ Rodriguez winning for Best TV Drama Actress for Pose. Then you got Best TV Musical or Comedy Actor, which is given to Jason Sudeikis for Ted Lasso. Following afterwards, we got Best Actor in a Miniseries and Television Film, which has been given to Michael Keaton for Dope Stick, as well as Best Actress for Best Actress for a Miniseries and Television, which is given to Kate Winslet for Mayor of Easttown. And finally, we also got Best Actor, Best Supporting TV Actor, which is given to Oh Young-soo for Squid Game. And if you guys remember, if you guys don't fully know Squid Game, then you probably know the memes of the guy. He's the old man of Squid Game. He is number 001. So yes, that guy actually did win the Golden Globe for this. But then for movies, the two big winners were The Power of the Dog and West Side Story, where The Power of the Dog won for Best Movie Drama, as well as winning for Best Supporting Actor for Cody Smith-McPhee, as well as for Best Director for Jane Campion. And for Best Movie, Musical, or Comedy, that was given to West Side Story, where apparently the girls were also the big winners in the feature film, where Best Actress in a Movie, Musical, or Comedy was given to Rachel Zelger for playing the role as for playing Maria. And then there's also Best Supporting Actress, which was given to Ariana DeBose playing as Anita. And the other winners that we have gotten so far include Will Smith winning for Best Movie Drama Actor for his performance in King Richard. You got Nicole Kidman winning for Best Actress in a movie drama for playing as Lucille Ball and Being the Ricardos. Then afterwards, we got Andrew Garfield winning, no, not as Spider-Man, but winning Best Actor in a Musical or Comedy for Tick, Tick, Boom, which is then followed by Best Screenplay, which is given to Belfast. Best Original Score was given to Dune. Best Original Song was No Time to Die, and of course, No Time to Die by Billie Eilish and Phineas O'Connell. Best International Film, or in this case, Best Non-English Film, has been given to the Japanese movie Drive My Car. And last, but certainly not least, Best Animated Feature, in which we probably all expected Disney's Encanto won, where it had a little bit of a tough competition up against Flea, Luca, My Sunny Maud, and Raya and the Last Dragon. And keep in mind, Encanto was also nominated for Best Original Score and Best Original Song, but hey, at least it did walk away with at least one Golden Globe. And I think it is pretty much safe to say that this was honestly one that we all did expect. We all knew, honestly, that Encanto would be the big winner for this one. I mean, the only real competitor that it had in this category would technically be Flea, considering that one has been getting a lot of recognition by critics, and especially during award season as well, where that one is not only nominated for Best Animated Feature from time to time, but a lot of people would also nominate it for Best Documentary, Best International Film, and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's also been getting a lot of major attention. But considering the significant factor of this particular Golden Globes for the Best Animated Feature category, since The Mitchells vs. the Machines was not nominated for this for reasons that I have no idea why, but since that one is not nominated, Encanto is the other obvious winner, and it's such a beautiful and great film. Even for me personally, I pick it as my number one best animated feature of the year, and honestly, there is a part of me that is actually quite happy to see that it won, because honestly, it did deserve it. It definitely was a great accomplishment by Walt Disney Animation Studios, and it even makes me happy to see that a lot of people are really enjoying it. Even some people are saying that this has been the best Disney animation movie since Moana, or like the best Disney animation movie in recent years. And honestly, like, that seems like a pretty big statement, but looking back at it, honestly, yeah, I actually do agree. Honestly, it has been the best in a while. I mean, I really did enjoy the past films that Disney has done, like Raya, and even though they're not as good as the others, I still very much did enjoy Ralph Breaks the Internet and Frozen 2, but still though, Encanto really did feel like a major Disney animated feature, and it was an extremely great production that Disney Animation put up, so really great on them. But then again, even with that win that Encanto has received, there is still the factor about the elephant in the room. And, oh, I got a new subscriber, or, well, a recurring subscriber, but, someone has gifted, actually. It was a gifted, sub. Oh, that's very nice of you, Jay Monty. Okay. But anyways, yes, back to what I was talking about. There is still the factor of the elephant in the room when it comes to the Golden Globes, and that is the amount of controversy that really got unleashed on it. You probably remember during the summer of 2021 with the heaping amount of controversy and backlash that the Hollywood Foreign Press Association has received because of the lack of diversity and the fact that they put in zero effort to try to put in like diversity or to really emphasize like world cinema. Like it was something that was so bad that even like Hollywood itself was pretty much abandoning the Golden Globes. You probably even remember one infamous incident where Tom Cruise, as a response of the backlash, decided to send back his Golden Globes that he has received throughout his career, which a lot of people perceive that as a massively bold move to show how there is a lot less value to the Golden Globes. And the funny thing is that like now that we have seen the like the backlash that it has gotten, now we have seen like the consequences of it and what it has ultimately reduced to. Like seeing what happened last night to the Golden Globes, where they had no presentation whatsoever. They couldn't even get a single actor to go and present a category or anything like that. Like the Golden Globes has pretty much reached like the lowest point that it has ever gotten in its history, where even like other like the sad thing about it is that considering how nobody would want to touch the Golden Globes, it has reached the point where its reputation has gotten even lower than some of the other low tier award shows like the People's Choice Awards or the Kids' Choice Awards or stuff like that. At least with those ones, yeah, they have no legitimacy whatsoever, but they do manage to get celebrities to go and present the awards, or even have celebrities come in to accept those awards. And there are probably some of those celebrities that would even keep their blimps or like whatever awards that they would go and hand out. But still, though, like it is sad to see them stoop to like this level. And again, like apparently it was so bad, like even the way that they tried to handle it this year, even like with social media and try to present the winners, like even a lot of people were complaining about that. Apparently they couldn't even go and get that right. And the worst thing about this is that apparently, even with all the effort they say and try to do, there's a lot of it that they still don't follow to their word. And that is because of one article that I found on Variety, in which it is called Golden Globes Left Off Foreign Language and Animated Films from Best Picture category and nomination ballots. And this is an article by Clayton Davis that I do recommend that you guys go and read. It is a very fascinating article. But the big thing about this is that beforehand, the Golden Globe, like as a response to the backlash and in order to emphasize more, to have more inclusion and more diversity, the problem with it is that, well, not the problem, but one thing that they promised to try to do is that they would go and include more feature films that are either international, that English is not their primary language, or they would also include animated films. And I know some of you are probably thinking, wait, before they didn't nominate animated, they wouldn't consider nominating animated films or international films? Yeah, but that's a whole other story. And in here, the Golden Globes tried to make a promise, and they even stated in this article that, like, they still try to stay true to their word, and they still try to follow it. There is this one quote I just want to go and quickly find. I know it's from a representative of the Hollywood Foreign Press. They said this. Here it is. So just to quickly read you here from my source from Variety, it states, Variety reached out to the Hollywood Foreign Press Association. A representative shared that members were aware of the rule changes and stated that animated and foreign language films could be voted in all eligible categories. The HFPA's entry database clearly shows non-English language and animated films were submitted as eligible for both categories, and that members were free to vote that anyway, to vote that way. The reminders list is not part of the official ballot. It is to remind people. All members are aware that film can be eligible in both categories. Now, they say that they can, but apparently in this article, it would go on to say that, well, that's not necessarily true. And I don't just mean by looking into the nominations itself. It's not just by looking at this and say that they are liars. What Variety means is that even those that would be in consideration for the nominations, none of them have showed up. Like apparently Drive My Car, or is that the name of it? Yeah, like Drive My Car apparently is said to be like one of the biggest and one of the best films out there. And it's like, a lot of people are saying that this is a strong contender to have the same kind of reputation as what Parasite did a couple of years ago. Like, it really is that good, and is even getting a lot of attention from different critics and different film associations. So, and yet that one has yet to even get a single recognition. Or even Encanto, like if they really are that true to their word, then like at the very least they should have put in Encanto to give it a nomination for best motion picture in musical or comedy, like to have it be up against West Side Story or Licorice Pizza or Don't Look Up or Tick Tick Boom or anything like that. I'm not asking it to win, but at least if they are that true to their word, then they could have at least put in Encanto in that category. But they decided they chose not to. Apparently they still went on as if they didn't even change that rule in the first place. So this really is a bit of a stab to their reputation because, well, it shows how they're not really that true to their word. And this is really going to go and really damage the reputation of the Golden Globes. Like, this is already bad enough, but the fact that also that with the backlash, and there is even evidence that they don't always stay true to their word, so that may also mean that they're not going to stay true to like their commitment to diversity and be more inclusive in terms of their categories and in terms of who can be a part of the committee. This is really just going to be like one step lower and lower and lower for the Golden Globes, where I wouldn't be surprised if in the near future there would be no more Golden Globes, especially when nowadays not many people really do take Golden Globes that seriously. Like, other than the Oscars, there's no real award, there's no real movie or TV award thing that people really take seriously. Well, okay, hold on. Like, other than the Oscars and other than the Emmys, of course, like those are the two big ones that have like significant importance. But outside of that, none of the others really matter all that much. Like, yeah, it's to give like other people, like other cast and crew members, like a little pat in the back. But for the general public, they don't necessarily mean all that much. And I think with what just happened this year with the Golden Globes, it's going to be extremely difficult for them to go and actually pick up their reputation from there. It's going to be really hard for anyone to really go and take them that seriously, especially if they're going to be lazy in terms of their commitment. And honestly, for me, like as a movie fan myself, as a fan of entertainment, to, watch these kinds of things, honestly, it really does give me, like, I think the biggest consequence, at least for me personally, is that it really does give me quite a pessimistic view on not just the Golden Globes, but just for awards in general. Like, it really does make me look at this and feel like, awards are kind of like pretty pointless when you do think about it, regardless of what it is. The Oscars, the Emmys, the Grammys, the Golden Globes, the Annies, or anything like that. Like, there really is a fine line where you look at this and you have to wonder, is like, does any of this really matter? I mean, yeah, like, it's nice to see Encanto be on top in terms of animated films, but would there really be that much of a difference if Encanto won for Best Animated Feature, or if Mitchell's versus the Machines won for Best Animated Feature? Like, would any of that truly do matter? Especially when, like, not just the Golden Globes, but like all the other all the other like award committees as well, like the Oscars and the Annies and all that kind of stuff. Like, when they kind of have these similar controversies as well, that it kind of makes you question a bit of their legitimacy. And you do wonder if their judgment really does hold any value in terms of how good these movies necessarily are. Like, the fact that if a movie is nominated or if a movie is not nominated, does that really signify if it really is that good or not? Not really. It just feels like at this point it's just talking points and just like for people to brag about in terms of their favorite film, like kind of have that sports mentality in terms of their movies, like for people to say, go Team Encanto or go Team Mitchell's or whatever, and that's that's really the biggest consequence for me seeing with what the Golden Globes has been reduced to. It's down to the point where not only it makes me question the Golden Globes, but it kind of makes me question just awards in general and what they would do. I mean, I used to, keep in mind, I do have a history of being really into award shows, and I used to take these things seriously, but nowadays it's with stuff like this and with controversies that they would get into, it's hard to really take them seriously, and it's hard to take their judgment seriously in terms of what would be considered the best of the year. And I'm not saying these movies don't deserve it or these TV shows don't deserve it. They don't deserve to be rewarded for the great work that they have done. This is not to slam any of the stuff that has been mentioned here or any of the winners. This is not to say that West Side Story's win or The Power of the Dog's win is insignificant or anything like that. There was a lot of hard work that they put into it. And yes, they do. The people who worked on these films do deserve the love and the praise that they have gotten. But honestly, with the significance about the Golden Globes or the Oscars or the Annies or anything like that, it's just, it makes me feel it makes me judge if they do have any value. Does it matter if they won an Oscar? Does it matter if they won several Annies? Does it matter if they won a Golden Globe? Honestly, not really. I know that I have my personal opinion on things. And I mean, yeah, it's nice to see that there are some things that, that me and the Golden Globes would connect, Best Animated Feature would be Encanto. But at the end of the day, would that necessarily mean anything? Would that necessarily be life-changing or make my stance on Encanto feel stronger or make me more right or anything like that? No, not really. And I'm sorry if I'm sorry if I feel I'm putting out a downer mood on this, but it's just with how bad things have been with the Golden Globes, and especially with what they've been reduced to now, that's how it just makes me feel these award ceremonies and stuff like that, the fact that it's starting off on such a terribly low note, it's hard to imagine how things can really go and pick up. That's truly the big, maybe it's not just me, but still though, looking into all this, with what's happening with the Golden Globes, I'm sure it's going to have some negative consequences, not just on the Globes, but to all other award shows as well, including the Oscars. So I don't know. It's going to be tough to imagine how we're going to continue the award season this year, and if they are going to be things that we shall take seriously. But still, though, I mean, I guess I'll congratulate all the people who did win a Golden Globe this year, and especially congratulations to the team at Disney Animation for winning the Golden Globe for Best Animated Feature. I think it's been a while since they've actually won a Golden Globe. When was the last time, actually? Was it Zootopia? I don't know. It's been a while, that's for sure, but still, it's nice that they did win. Congratulations, but it's the Golden Globes though, so it's does it really matter? I don't know. I just feel it's something that's very conflicting. Maybe I'm just making things more complex than it should be. I don't know. Maybe it's just me or whatever. But anyways, how about we go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the Golden Globes? Do you agree with a lot of the Golden Globes? Do you agree with the Encanto win? And how do you feel about the current stance of the Golden Globes in the first place? Let me know what you guys think. Okay. Let's see what we got here. Normally, I would celebrate Encanto winning for the Globes, but I can't due to the controversy. So it makes me wonder, what is the point of all this? I know there are some sort of Oscar precursor, but with many controversies it has gotten, the show should have been canceled to begin with, and there is no host, celebrities, or Hollywood wanting to be associated with this group. I see them making little impact this year, so it is best not to care about them this year, and they went low at this point. Yeah, exactly. That's why I honestly kind of question is there even will there even be a Golden Globes in the future? Like, I don't know. I feel like the clock really is ticking, unless like they fully get serious for next year and they show a lot more diversity, and like we'll actually see movies be nominated for Best Picture, like Lightyear or Spider-Verse or Strange World or stuff like that. Or hell, even the freaking Mario movie, for all I know. Like, unless they actually do commit to more diversity for not just within people in the community, to add like people of color and more women and stuff like that, but also to add like animated films for Best Picture and international films as well. If they don't commit to it, then I feel like the clock is already ticking for the Golden Globes. Let's see now. Encanto was a fantastic movie, so despite how messy the Globes are in general, it absolutely earns the win. As for the other wins, Rachel Zelger deserves it solely for convincingly acting like she was in love with Ansel Elgort. I know what you mean, dude. I know what you mean. And I'm especially glad for Andrew Garfield's win, since this was undeniably one of his biggest years as an actor between this and another certain movie in 2021. I am, of course, referring to The Eyes of Tammy Faye. Wait, what movie did you think I was referencing? I don't know. Wait, wasn't Andrew Garfield in Wish Dragon? I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I understand where you're going with it, dude. I understand. Let's see what else we got here. I'm definitely happy that Encanto won for Best Animated Feature, and also West Side Story definitely deserves the wins that it got despite the controversy surrounding that film. As for the show itself, the more I think about it, the more I feel the Golden Globes are not worth keeping around anymore. Seriously, the Kids' Choice Awards have more dignity than the Golden Globes. At least the Kids' Choice Awards knows their target audience. Oh man. Ooh, that's a bit of a savage burn right there. Oh, is it getting hot in here, or is it just me? Because man, that comment like really burned up the Globes. Let's see, what else do we have here? What other comments? AniMat does. Oh no, wait, no, that's a response to someone else. Okay, sorry. Anyways, yes. Personally, I don't watch the Golden Globes. I barely think about the date of that, and honestly, I feel like award shows mainly exist to give indie films and non-specific films a chance to shine and exist. I don't even watch the Oscars for Best Animated Film anymore. I just kind of feel like it's a predictable pattern for insecure adults. Yeah, honestly, I'm on the same page as you. Like, for me personally, beforehand, I quit watching the Golden Globes years ago, especially when all it is just a bunch of celebrities coming together, having a few drinks, like share some laughs, like make fun of each other, and like pat themselves on the back. It's really Hollywood self-gloating. But at least with the Oscars, they kind of do put in a bit of a spectacle. Regardless of how you may think if it's good or bad, at least you can call it a spectacle either way. But yeah, like with the Golden Globes, it's just like, the show itself, it was pretty, they never were even good in the first place. Like, even when Ricky Gervais was the host, like it ain't all that great. And I mean, a lot of it has aged very poorly. Like I'm sure like a lot of like the Golden Globe stuff, like you would look back at it and I'm sure there's like tons of cringe material right there. Except for the Robert De Niro one, like the one time when Robert De Niro was like not laughing at all while everybody was like enthusiastically laughing and clapping. Okay, like that's the one golden moment that they had there in recent years. Let's see what else we got. I didn't really have much to say about the Golden Globes, but I would love to give a big congrats to Encanto for winning Best Animated Feature. But when it comes to its controversies, that's pretty scary to hear about it. I really wish the best for the Golden Globes and for other award shows to get better and better as time passes if they can improve upon themselves. Yeah, and they better. They honestly better, because we are at a time where award shows, not just the Golden Globes, but even the Oscars as well, are starting to be less and less significant, where winning an award and stuff like that is not really that meaningful to the general audience. So it is definitely losing its power, and even for the shows that they present, they're losing a lot of their ratings on television. So Yeah, they better get to it to really like update themselves to be like more significant in terms of their impact in Hollywood, because otherwise award shows in general may not last long. All right, I think I'm going to go and read one more comment before we go and move on to our next one. Golden Globes was meant to me. But I definitely want to congratulate Jared Bush and Brian Howard for their Golden Globe for animation. Very happy for one of my favorite Disney filmmakers. Jared is such a fantastic guy. He is super, super nice. All right, that's definitely good. So I think overall, I just want to say, yeah, again, congratulations to all the winners, and especially congratulations to Disney for the win with Encanto, and technically for West Side Story as well. That is technically their movie also. And let's hope for the best if the Golden Globes can actually learn from their mistakes and actually improve upon themselves to be more diverse and to actually represent the foreign in Hollywood foreign press. Seriously, that crap is like really hypocritical. All right, now for our next one, we are going to be dealing with a big controversy. Oh yes, already this is far from the grand finale, and already we are going to be talking about something that already is becoming one of the biggest controversial animation news of 2022. Because with this significant update, holy crap, it has already gotten so many different kinds of strong emotions. You would either go and be on one side, or you would either be on the other. Like, it's just a small news to go and report, but holy crap, did everyone make a big fuss about this. Now, with that said and done, let's go ahead on to our next story, as we shall talk about Turning Red. Now, you guys probably know that... Can you move it? Yeah, okay. No, son of a fish, get out of the way. Thank you. Okay. Anyways, yes, as I was talking about, you guys probably know about Turning Red, which is Pixar's next animated feature. And for a while, for several months, Pixar has promised that Turning Red would be their next animated feature that they would go and release in theaters. Because you guys already know that throughout the pandemic, instead of actually putting their movies on the big screen or have some kind of simultaneous release, Disney ultimately decided to take their films and make them Disney Plus exclusives, not even put in like a premium access payment wall or anything like that. And this has happened with Soul, which was directed by the chief creative officer of Pixar, Pete Docter, as well as 2021's Luca. And people were hoping for the day that maybe Disney will stop doing that, and entering upon 2022, we'll actually go and actually see a Pixar movie on the big screen. Well, unfortunately, hold on a sec. I'm fine, people. Don't worry about that. But anyways, as I was talking about, last week, unfortunately, Disney had to announce that they had to go and break that promise. Especially nowadays with Omicron cases that are massively on the rise, Disney does not want to go and take the risk to put Turning Red on the big screen. And ultimately, they decided, similarly with Soul and with Luca, they're just going to go and skip theaters entirely and just put it up as a Disney Plus exclusive. Now, at this point, there are two different kinds of reactions that happen because of this. There are those that are a little bit disappointed that, oh, well, you know, it sucks that this is not going to be coming out on the big screen. But still, though, we are still going to go and see this in March. And you know what? Like, it's going to be on Disney Plus. That's fine. We'll be safe at home. We'll be able to watch it there. And you know what? It'll be perfectly fine. So some people are still okay. They understand what Disney did. So, like, some people are fine with it. But then there are those that are pissed. Like, these people are angry. Les personnes sont fâchées parce que de ça. I can tell you that. And a lot of people were just furious and really angry, believing that Disney does not care about Pixar anymore. And I've seen some like really rage-induced comments and responses because of this, really portraying Disney as like this massively evil corporation, that Pixar should separate from Disney, that Bob Chapek should be fired as the CEO because he's the worst Disney CEO that ever lived, and all that kind of stuff. Like, people were massively upset about it. And yet, Disney did put up a response. Oh, actually, beforehand, considering that I do have this article on Deadline, even this article here that just broke the news, even they were actually pretty upset about it. And like, let me just read you a little excerpt here. It states, "It would be prudent for Disney to know in advance for its diagnostics where a movie is meant for theaters or Disney Plus. It's just a fair thing to do for cinemas, which truly have been challenged during the pandemic. If Disney didn't have theatrical confidence in the movie, then don't date it. It's that simple. Don't tease theaters that are expecting products from you and counting on certain income. Sounds fair, Disney, no?" And yes, Disney did actually do a response, which I have from my source here on comicbook.com, to which they actually state, and this is actually coming from Kareem Daniel, the chairman of Disney Media and Entertainment Distribution, to which he says here, "Disney Plus subscribers around the world enthusiastically embrace Pixar's Academy Award-winning Soul and the critically acclaimed Luca when they premiered exclusively on the service, and we look forward to bringing them Pixar's next incredible feature film, Turning Red. Given the delayed box office recovery, particularly for family films, flexibility remains at the core of our distribution decisions as we prioritize delivering the unparalleled content of the Walt Disney Company to audiences around the world." And following afterwards in this article, there are a lot of Twitter responses that they looked into, like all the different reactions of people who are okay with it, who are upset about it, and even commenting how other people are reacting to it. Like, here are a few examples here. Like, this is from Alicia Stella, in which she states, "More than one thing can be true at the same time. Yes, releasing films on Disney Plus means more eyes on it, but also it's sad these Pixar films didn't get a chance to be viewed in theaters. Yes, it's true not everyone feels comfortable going back to theaters, but also some do." And then we also got another one, which is from Out of Context Simpsons Couch Gag, in which they state, "It sucks and all, but man, does people love to just act like Disney is just the evilest villains for putting a movie on streaming because it would be safer for audiences when we have COVID and Omicron going on." And then we got another one. Oh, would you look at that? It is me. It is my comment. Yeah, by the way, thank you, Susie, for sharing this with me. She's the one that actually discovered that for me and actually shared it with me, saying, it was like, "Man, you look at this." Oh my God. I feel pretty honored that, like, for the first time, or probably one of the first times that I didn't know, but still, like, it's actually pretty cool to see, like, from a pretty big website like comicbook.com share something that I commented on Twitter. So that is actually pretty cool. But anyways, I actually did do a thread commenting on the whole controversy, and the one they highlight, the one that the article, and by the way, I just want to quickly say thank you so much, Aaron Perrine, for having me featured on this. But anyways, to read the excerpt they decided to put up in here, he states, "And what's crazy about this whole Turning Red controversy is that this is something that other studios are doing, but don't get the same amount of hate. If you're mad at Disney for how they're treating Pixar, why aren't you mad at Sony for treating Sony Animation the same way?" And then there are others that you do get comments like from Jake with the cat emoji that are pretty, like, angry at Disney by saying, "Nah, this isn't okay at all. Pixar isn't just one of the defining branches of Disney, but they're being shoved under while their sister companies Marvel and Disney Animation get immediate theatrical releases. This is downright disrespectful." And then there are those that are perfectly cool with it, that are 100% on Disney's side. And that is completely the case with Shafrillas. Yes, that's Shafrillas. In which Chef here states, "This is good news, to be honest. Soul and Luca were watched and talked about, by a ton of people, and Encanto didn't start getting buzz until its Disney Plus release. Streaming it is not a death sentence for Pixar movies. It is the most easily accessible way for the most people to watch them. So that's pretty much the big thing that we are witnessing right now. It's how this is such a big controversy and how people are making such a massive fuss over the fact that Turning Red is not going to be released in theaters, and instead it's just going to be released on Disney Plus. Now, let me just go and start this off by saying that I understand the disappointment by this. I understand that looking at all this, it really does, it does suck. Like, I was ready to go and see Turning Red on the big screen. Like, I was prepared, like, okay, like, I'm gonna have a big break, and then in March, I'm gonna go back to the movie theater and actually go and watch Turning Red. Like, I was prepared for that. I even mentioned in my top 5 best and worst animated films of 2021 when making my predictions for the 2022 films. Like, I even mentioned, like, hey, you know what? I'm just happy that I'm going to go see a Pixar movie on the big screen. Well, sadly enough, it looks like that comment is already outdated. It's already poorly aged right there. And honestly, it sucks. And even when you do look at the trailers of Turning Red, it does look like a great movie that would take great advantage of being on the big screen. So I understand the sentiment of disappointment coming from this. But when it comes to the sentiments of anger, of the full-on rage that is getting, okay, I just need to say right now, that is a little bit of an exaggeration. Like, okay, let's go and actually look into why Disney would even do this in the first place. Why would they not go and release any Pixar films yet on the big screen, even if we are in a pandemic? I'll get into the pandemic aspect a little later, but for now, why would they go and do so? And I think, first of all, money. Money is kind of the big reason, but there is a logical explanation to this. It's not just any money, but it really is the factor that the box office has yet to really be sustainable in terms of animated films. And what I mean by that is that, yes, I know some people could go and argue that technically the box office is slowly but surely picking back up with movies such as Shang-Chi, Venom, Let There Be Carnage, and especially with Spider-Man No Way Home. But the big difference is that, yes, for superhero movies, they are actually doing pretty well at the box office and in movie theaters. That is not the case for animation, though. For animation and for animated films and for family films, they still have a very long way to go in order to recover and actually be profitable in order to premiere exclusively in theaters. Because just this week, we have witnessed a few milestones in terms of pandemic era animated features. Like Encanto, for example, it is the first ever animated feature during the pandemic era that has surpassed $200 million globally. I think The Croods already did that before. I could be wrong, but still though, I know that this week Encanto has surpassed the numbers of The Croods: A New Age. And on top of that, you also got Sing 2. And Sing 2 just this weekend actually did surpass, like, it was the first animated feature during the pandemic era that has surpassed $100 million at the box office. But still, though, when you do look at those numbers individually, yes, they are great in terms of how we are right now in the pandemic. But in terms of their reputation and how they would usually do, they are still pretty bad. And you got to keep in mind something regarding both Sing 2 and Encanto. These are both animated films from their respective studios that are like top performance. As I previously said before, when it comes to Encanto, a lot of people are already saying that Encanto is the best Disney animation movie in recent years. And debatably, the same can even be said about Sing 2, where there are a lot of people out there, they don't just enjoy, they love Sing 2. Sing 2, believe it or not, has a cinema score, which if you guys don't know, that is like the definitive rating system for how audiences feel about certain movies. For Sing 2, that got an A+, the same rating as Spider-Man No Way Home. And yes, I do mean that according to CinemaScore, audiences believe that Sing 2 is equally as good as Spider-Man No Way Home. And from there, like, you could definitely tell that, like, these are two major fan favorite movies that are, like, you know, that from their respective studios, they really are putting out their A game. And if those movies that are putting out their A game have yet to fully convince audiences and for families to come to the movie theater to go and watch them, then it's going to be a very hard time for any other animated feature to find any form of profitability at the box office, especially when it comes to Pixar. Because that's also another major thing that I need to bring up. It's the fact that with Pixar films and Disney animation films, their budgets are stupidly expensive. Keep in mind that for their movies, Disney would go and spend somewhere between $100 million and $200 million each. And when it comes to, like, the box office performances of what animated films are generally doing right now, it is far from enough for a Disney animated feature or for a Pixar film to even find any form of profitability. Like with Encanto right now, yeah, like some people are saying with how it's doing right now at the box office, it is decent considering the circumstances, but still though, Disney ain't gonna make a single profit based on the box office alone. The success that we are seeing right now is obviously not from the box office. And again, this is something that I will go and get to a little later. But my point is, it is not it's not a financially smart move for Pixar to go and like release their movies on the big screen, because no matter what, it would be an automatic fail. It would be like, releasing something like Turning Red in these circumstances right now, even if things do get a little bit better, it would just be an immediate lost cause. They would end up like another Good Dinosaur incident. It would just be another immediate box office bomb that people are just not going to care about and just quickly forget. That's, that's honestly the sad reality that we have to go and witness right now, which is why the best thing that a Pixar movie can do in order to maintain some relevancy, in order to maintain some popularity, and for the long run to be remembered as a well-established Pixar film, is to unfortunately go and release it on Disney Plus. And again, like families right now, they still do not trust going to see an animated movie or a family movie on the big screen. They would rather just go and stay at home. They would rather go and be safe, where they know that their kids won't catch COVID or anything like that, so they could be in the comfort of their home, of their own home, and they could actually watch the movie. And on top of that, they do have their own little bonuses, such as controlling the movie itself. Like if they want to pause to go to the bathroom, they're allowed to do that. That's something you can't do when you're watching it on the big screen. Like if you got to go to the bathroom in the middle of the movie, you can't just pause it. You got to end up skipping like a minute of like what has happened. So there is that factor that unfortunately we have to accept, that we do live in an age where the general public is starting to feel more comfortable watching movies through streaming more so than actually watching through the big screen, or at least that is the case right now with animated features. And I know I'm going to get a lot of hate and a lot of crap from movie theater fans, but that's currently the circumstances that we have to face right now. It's not it's not really financially ideal for Pixar movies to be on the big screen. And so far, like in terms of both the short run and the long run, they would have to go and release it on Disney Plus, because it will go and achieve more audiences that way. It will get more recognition and it will get more popularity. And in the long run, it will go and be a lot more profitable than just putting it up exclusively on the big screen where people wouldn't go and really watch it. And there's one thing that Shafrila's definitely got on point that he is absolutely right about with that quote that he mentioned there. is regarding Encanto, because with the factor of Encanto right now, the thing is, when that was released on American Thanksgiving on November 24th, it did get a little bit of attention, but not necessarily all that much. It wasn't until it was released on Disney Plus on Christmas Eve, where right now it is one of the most talked about movies that's currently out there, alongside Spider-Man No Way Home. In fact, some people could even debate about which one is currently more popular, Spider-Man or Encanto, because right now it has a huge and a massive prominent fan base right now. So the thing is that it's probably for the best that something like Turning Red or Encanto, that they would go and premiere on Disney Plus. Like, yeah, like you're not going to get the whole movie theater experience of watching it, but at least it's going to go and be more financially wise to go and actually premiere it on Disney Plus and give more people opportunity to actually go and watch it. Oh, and by the way, I almost forgot, but some people might be wondering regarding countries that don't have Disney Plus. Apparently, even the reports, they actually do state that those are going to be the movies in which for Turning Red, that's actually going to be released in theaters, but only, again, in countries that don't have Disney Plus. But then there's also the other factor that for some reason people seem to have completely forgotten. Like, whenever you see those raging comments, there's still one factor that people have completely forgotten for some reason, and I think it's pretty obvious. We are still in a pandemic. I mean, have you forgotten? You know, the reason why that a lot of us are still confined. You know, a lot of us are still in like lockdowns and have to have restrictions, and that we still need to wear a mask and all that kind of stuff, and why we need to get vaccinated and get our boosters. Yeah, that thing is still happening. And that thing, yes, is still a very significant factor as to why. The thing is that, and especially right now with the Omicron variant, like that thing is like a super spreader right now. It's like easier than ever for that thing to go and be spread. And now like we're starting to know more and more people that are very close to us that actually did get COVID. And so right now, companies like Disney, they don't want to go and take the risk and have like their movies be the cause of outbreaks or be the cause of like spreading the virus more and more by putting them up on the big screen. So they don't want to have that bad PR. They don't want to have that bad reputation, especially when it comes to children. They don't want to go and end up having kids to go and catch the virus. Now, I know that there are some people out there that they would try to go and argue that, oh, well, Omicron is not that bad. It's like a cold. That, you know, that you probably have heard about this comment. You probably have heard about this argument in a desperate attempt to try to downplay the pandemic right now in terms of trying to downplay what is happening with what is happening with COVID and stuff like that. It's like, you know, it's not that bad. It's just a cold. It doesn't matter, you know? It's not that bad. It's just a cold. Really, it's just a cold. So are you telling me that, like, you want to get sick? Is that what you're asking for? Because regardless of what it is, rather it be COVID or a common cold or anything like that, nobody wants to get sick. That's not something that is fun to go through no matter what. I should know. I actually did catch a cold like a few weeks ago, just before Christmas. I actually caught a cold, and let me tell you, it sucked. I mean, sure, I wasn't going to die from it, but I still felt miserable. My body felt more tired than usual, and especially with the stress of the holidays and the stress that maybe it's COVID, so I had to go and get tested and stuff like that. It's still not a fun experience to go through, no matter what. It doesn't matter what kind of sickness it is. Even if Omicron is just as bad as a cold, you still don't want to get freaking sick. There is no movie out there, regardless of what it is, even if it's Spider-Man No Way Home, none of it is worth risking yourself to catch a cold. And those are and that's the big question that I do want to ask in terms of like people who are upset at Disney for making this decision. Like, what would you rather do? Would you rather stay safe and stay at home but risk losing the movie experience of watching like whatever movie you want to go see, like with Turning Red? Or would you rather go and see a movie on the big screen and actually risk that getting COVID and risk spreading it amongst all those that you love? Which one would you rather do? Do you want to be careless because of your selfish intentions of just watching a movie in a specific way? Is that what you really want to do? Is that what you're trying to tell me? That like when you're so upset of the fact that Turning Red is not going to be premiering in theaters, is that what you're trying to say? I mean, seriously, like some of these are absolutely ridiculous. And personally, I feel like that we are honestly at the point where I think this entire antagonizing Disney, like that whole trend thing, like I think it's gone too far. We've reached a point where we have completely normalized the hatred from Disney to the point that now whatever they do, whatever small thing that they have done that might slightly inconvenience us, that's when we would go and pull out a full-on angry video game nerd style rage. Like, we've pretty much normalized that. Like, unfortunately, this seems to be like the common behavior regarding any action of what Disney has done. And honestly, it feels very hypocritical because this is something that not just Disney, but any other studio has done. And like I said in that post right there, if people are really that pissed off at Disney for what they have done with Turning Red and some of the other Pixar films, then why aren't you mad at Sony Pictures for the way that they are treating Sony Pictures Animation? And I say this because technically, pretty soon now, we're going to have Hotel Transylvania Transformania. And it's the same story as Turning Red. For a long time, Sony Pictures has promised that they would go and release that on the big screen, that it would actually have a movie theater release, unlike their other movies that they've given to Netflix like Mitchell's, Vivo, and Wish Dragon. But then suddenly, when the Delta variant was on the rise, Sony Pictures decided to bail out and decided to give that movie to Amazon Prime, where now it is only going to be an Amazon Prime exclusive. And from there, I don't remember anybody being this angry. Now, when I did ask that question, you know, like when I did ask, did anybody remember if people got pissed off when movies like Hotel Transylvania 4 or Mitchell's vs. the Machines, when they moved to streaming instead of being released in theaters? Some people did respond that there were a handful of people that did get upset. But even at that, though, was anybody really this mad? Was anybody really that upset at Sony Pictures for doing so? Like, have we seen all these raging comments of people saying that, oh, Sony Pictures shouldn't have done that, they're an evil corporation, the CEO should step down because he doesn't know what he's doing and he hates cinema, Sony Animation should separate themselves from Sony Pictures? Have we seen those kinds of reactions from them? No, the answer is obviously not, because the thing is, the antagonization of Sony Pictures is not as common as the antagonization of Disney. And by the way, keep in mind, I'm not saying that we should stop hating Disney. There are a lot of things that the Walt Disney has done are pretty horrible, and they're honestly very understandable as to why they would get those backlashes, especially when it comes to the Disney parks. The fact that they don't put in vaccine mandates at all their parks. The fact that they still don't pay they still don't pay enough to their cast members. The fact that they would try to go and grift their customers every single way possible, like with Genie Plus. There are so many things, and this is not even to mention with stuff like the Galactic Star Cruiser or whatever, but still though, like there are a lot of bad things that Disney has done that, yes, they do deserve the backlash, but for something like this, honestly, absolutely not. And honestly, you know what this is? This is something that the community has said it best, that this is a hate boner. This is from people who have pretty much established that they have like a definitive hatred for Disney, that no matter what they do, regardless of what decision that they have made, if it's something that would even slightly inconvenience them, then that's when they would go all rage mode, and that's when they would unleash their hate boner to really go and attack Disney in what is honestly a very over-the-top fashion. And honestly, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for saying this, but to be honest, looking back at the whole controversy and stuff like that, I'm sorry, but this is petty. This is very much petty, because at the end of the day, what is it that people are upset about? It's the fact that a Pixar animated movie is not going to be shown on the big screen, and instead it will be shown on Disney Plus. Technically, you are still going to get Turning Red. Like, that's still not going to change. You will be able to watch it. Like that, you know, and that's one thing that we should be thankful for in terms of streaming, is that we still get the opportunity to actually go and watch these movies without the need of movie theaters whenever they're not available. But still, though, like we're still going to get Turning Red. That's still going to be available to us. But still, though, like, yeah, it does suck. And there are a lot of downsides to it, that like it's not going to be available for the big screen, and it's like really screwing over movie theaters. But still, though, like the fact that you're not, like, what you're really complaining about is the fact that you're not going to see a movie in a specific fashion. Like, that is true. Like, that really is complaining about first world problems right there. Like, that truly is like full on, like, high privilege problems, that you won't be able to see a specific movie in a specific way. And that I personally find to be absolutely petty. And overall, I just feel like with this whole controversy, yes, it does suck that we're not going to have Turning Red on the big screen. But then again, the reasons why Disney is doing so, whether it be for finances or regarding the situation for COVID, is perfectly understandable. And I'm just saying, maybe you're not taking COVID as seriously, but that doesn't necessarily mean that Disney shouldn't, especially when there are plenty of other places out there that, you know, when they do take COVID seriously, sometimes it really does limit the accessibility of who can go to the cinema to actually go and watch it. And the greatest example that I can think of this is my current situation. Keep in mind, I'm in the province of Quebec. Ever since just before Christmas, we can't even go to the cinemas because they have completely shut down every single one of them. You're not allowed to go into a movie theater anymore to watch a movie because of the situation with the Omicron variant. And just last week, our neighboring province, Ontario, has announced the same kind of lockdown restrictions, including closing down their cinemas. So what? Do you want Turning Red to be released while the people of Quebec and Ontario would be shafted? Not to mention the fact that even financially, it would be absolutely stupid, considering that there are two major Canadian markets that are now closed down and won't have access to actually see that movie: Montreal and Toronto. So really at this point, Disney has to go and take it as seriously as how some governments are taking it very seriously. So it really is kind of a difficult decision that they have to do, regardless of its finances or if it's working around the pandemic. Disney honestly has to do what they have to do. And again, I get that Disney can be a pretty bad company, but this is not something in which they deserve to have the backlash. So overall, like, this controversy is a bit of a mess, really. Like, I know I have so much to say about this, but it's a pretty, like, and I know I already see a lot of people telling me that, yeah, like what I just said is a pretty hot take, but still, though, it's just gone, it's blown out of proportions. And I feel like it really does say a lot how we have normalized the hatred of the Walt Disney Company just a little too much, where like every single thing they do is like evil. Like, yeah, they're not a great company, but still, though, not everything they do is like, you know, warfare or like promoting white supremacy or anything like that. You know, just calm down. We are going to get Turning Red no matter what. Even if it's not in theaters, at least we're going to see it in some way. All right, so with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you people, what do you think about this whole Turning Red controversy, and which side do you pick? Like, which side are you on? Are you more in support for movie theaters, or are you more in support for Disney for the decision that they have done? Let me know what you think on this. Let's see what we got here. Admittedly, I am looking at the glass half full because at least Turning Red will still be released in March in a safer environment, but I wonder if this could be a sign of what's to come for family-friendly films releasing in 2022. Not just Disney movies, for example. I'm now worrying if the Mario movie could be delayed. Well, honestly, at that point, I feel like that really does depend if there are going to be more variants in the future. Are there going to be more variants that will be developed after Omicron? Some people are saying that maybe we're kind of like seeing the light at the end of the tunnel, but then again, there's also that chance that we'll have to embrace the fact that this is the new normal. And even nowadays, I'm still not sure that, even looking in the future, if there is going to be another variant after Omicron, I don't think we're going to see Lightyear on the big screen. I think Lightyear might even end up getting that same treatment. And even at that, I would even say the same thing about Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. You never know. Sony Animation will decide, well, there's a new variant that's more dangerous, that's spreading easily again. Maybe we'll have to go and put that movie on Netflix. There is still that chance. I think this is going to be the new normal, where we shouldn't expect to go and return to the theaters and maybe decide that, there might be that chance that we'll have to prepare and watch things through streaming, because so far it's the best way to go and watch any content right now. Let's see. The one thing that rubs me the wrong way about this is that there's an easy compromise here. Want to make Turning Red accessible during the pandemic while keeping theaters happy? Great! Bring back Premiere Access. People who can't access theaters can watch it in the comforts of their own home, whereas theaters can still show it to those brave few if they abide safety guidelines. It's a win-win. But then again, maybe they'll lead to another fun Disney Plus short like what happened with Soul and Luca. I don't know. There is still a massive determining factor on all this, that just putting it up on the big screen or trying to do what they did with Raya and the Last Dragon and release it both on the big screen and on Disney Plus with Premiere Access or whatever. I don't know if it's going to be that wise of a decision, especially when it could end up costing more for Disney than actually be beneficial. Again, you got to keep in mind that one thing Disney wants to avoid is another good dragon incident where they're going to end up having another bomb. So for Disney, they want to pretty much wait until things are actually better for not just the box office, but with the pandemic. I can guarantee you there is one way for Pixar films to be back on the big screen, and that is if we're going to be in a situation with the pandemic that the numbers are going to be the number of deaths caused by the pandemic is going to be at an absolute zero, and hospitalizations will be at an absolute zero. That will be the only way for now that I can imagine that will bring them back. Other than that, though, Disney Plus will be the home of Pixar films in the future, probably. Let's see what we have here. To be honest, I feel disappointed that Turning Red is not going to theaters anymore, but at the same time, the decision makes sense. When it comes to streaming services, it makes people feel more convenient and comfortable to watch movies instead of going out to see it in theaters. You're making an excellent point, Matt. We could still watch Turning Red, but the easiest and safest way possible, which is definitely a good thing. And congrats on getting your tweet featured on comicbook.com. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Honestly, I think it is for the best. This is the best option for everyone's safety, especially when we are in the worst wave of the pandemic so far. But I still do find a bit disrespectful for the people at Pixar when they worked hard on those films. Also, I'm calling it right now. If things don't get better with the pandemic by June, I'm calling it that Disney is probably going to consider putting Lightyear on Disney Plus. Exactly. And again, it really does depend if we're going to see not just another wave, but also another, if we do see another variant that will come out, then yeah, the same thing that is going to happen to Lightyear. And maybe the same thing is also going to happen to movies such as with Minions or with Across the Spider-Verse and with the Mario movie. It could possibly happen. Really, if you actually do want to be upset about Turning Red not being on the big screen, don't blame Disney. Blame the anti-vaxxers. Blame people who choose not to be vaccinated, who choose not to wear a mask and spread dangerous misinformation and antagonize Anthony Fauci. Blame all those people right there, because they're the ones who are prolonging this pandemic, and they are the ones who are causing more variants to be created, and they are the ones that are causing events like this, where Disney would have to go and backtrack from releasing their films on the big screen. blame them more than Disney because they're the ones responsible for how COVID is right now and how it is still a thing in 2022. Let's see what else we have. Let's see. I should have seen this coming. I think it is a good decision on the safety level because people are continuing to be irresponsible about COVID. I was one of those people who was frustrated, but just hearing about people getting grumpy about having to wear masks in a donut shop, yeah, Disney is probably saving more kids doing this. However, I feel worried for Pixar and whenever they'll just be sent to the dumping ground of Disney+. Also, 2 out of 3 of these movies star people of color. That's very questionable. I don't know if that is, yeah, I don't know if that is a factor. Like, some people are saying that maybe this is a factor of like IPs, or if this is a factor of like having people of color and stuff like that. I don't think that really is the case because especially with Soul, you got to keep in mind, like, yeah, it stars that is a movie that has a prominently black cast or mostly black. But still, that is a movie directed by one of the big heads at Pixar, Pete Docter. And if he can't get a movie released in theaters during a pandemic, then I don't think anybody can. And especially with the whole IP thing, I think like that theory is absolute bullcrap. Because if that would be the case, then Sony wouldn't have delayed Morbius from the end of this month to April. So it's not an IP thing. I don't think it's a people of color thing. It's we're still in a freaking pandemic thing. All right, I'll read 2 more comments because we still have a lot to go, and I mean, like, we spent a lot of time with these first 2 stories. Admittedly, I am looking at the no, I've already read that one. Sorry. Let's see. Okay, I do agree with you, Matt, that people should stop trying to portray Disney as much as an evil corporation for making this move. I won't criticize people for being disappointed with Disney making the decision, as I kind of am myself, for saying that they are an evil corporation is just ridiculous. Also, if Lightyear ends up going to Disney+, then we really have to start punishing all these anti-vaxxers and anti-maskers who are just making the pandemic worse. Why else do you think Disney+ is making these decisions? Exactly. There needs to be more and more and more places that actually do need to go and actually put up vaccine mandates. Vaccine mandates need to be like a global thing for everywhere. And like, even in Quebec, like we're already at the point where we already do a whole lot of vaccine mandates, but now we're starting to consider even putting them up in like essential places like grocery stores and pharmacies. Like we're not just in Quebec, but in Canada, we are starting to get fed up with anti-vaxxers, and we need to start treating them like the criminals that they actually are. And let's see. I'll read one more comment before we go. First off, congratulations to you and Shafrillas on making the article, just like Cell Specs made it through the Variety article of Hotel Transylvania 4 heading to Prime Video. Second, I'm sad that Turning Red is not coming to theaters, but this is what it is. And 3, I wonder how Pixar is feeling right now with their 3rd film heading to Disney+, considering that Disney Animation, Marvel, and even 20th Century got a theatrical release treatment, but not Pixar themselves. I hope they are not too upset about it. I mean, some people are saying that they are upset, but I think in the case of Pixar, it really is just bad timing. Like, when you do think about stuff like with Ron's Gone Wrong or Encanto or some of the Marvel movies like Shang-Chi, they were thankfully released during a time where the pandemic was not as bad, where the Delta variant was actually going down. And the Omicron variant didn't blast off until like the holiday season, until like somewhere, I guess, in like mid-December or something like that. So I think honestly, it really is a case of just bad timing overall. So yeah, that's just my whole piece on the Turning Red controversy. But still though, hey, we're still gonna get it, and we will still be able to watch it on Disney Plus on March 11th. All right, so now it is time that we're going to go and move on to our next story. And it's time that we're going to go and actually be a little more positive, look more, be more enthusiastic about the future and see what the future has in store in terms of animation, and have some fun with it too. And with our next project here, this is apparently a fan favorite project and a fan favorite novel or movie or whatever, a fan favorite franchise, I think that's the best way to put it, is now going to be coming back in a brand new style. And this is probably the perfect fit for it, as we are pretty soon going to get a Scott Pilgrim anime series. Yes, Netflix is now officially in the works to go and create an anime series based on the popular graphic novels Scott Pilgrim. And they already got some significant key players from Scott Pilgrim to go and work on it. Most namely, they already got Brian Lee O'Malley, the artist and creator of Scott Pilgrim, to go and executive produce this and write this as well. On top of that, they even got Ben David Grabinski, the showrunner behind Are You Afraid of the Dark, is also going to be executive producing this as well. Now, for those of you who are not necessarily familiar with Scott Pilgrim, I'm just going to go and read you this quick little piece here from The Hollywood Reporter, describing a bit of what this whole thing is about, as it states, part action fantasy, part romantic comedy. Pilgrim centered on the titular slacker and in-garage band named Sex Babam with his friends. His life is turned upside down when he meets Ramona Flowers, an American girl who is recently single. But before their love can blossom, Pilgrim finds himself challenged by his love's 7 previous relationships and must defeat them in over-the-top fashion. And on top of that, you guys probably do remember that back in 2010, Edgar Wright has actually created a live-action movie based on Scott Pilgrim, which you probably know as Scott Pilgrim versus the World. However, even though that movie was a box office bomb, and by the way, you probably do remember some of the actors in there as well, including Michael Cera as Scott and Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Ramona Flowers. It did end up becoming a major fan favorite, and even that received a massive cult following as well. And they even mention in here that Edgar Wright himself, along with his producing partner Nira Park, will actually get some executive producing credits, and even the band members from that movie in particular is going to be coming back working on this series. Now, one more important thing to note regarding this Scott Pilgrim series is that technically nothing is truly official yet. Yes, all these people are going to be working on it, but Netflix has not Netflix did not do an official series order on this thing. So for now they are working on it, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is going to legitimately happen. And I'm just going to say right now, I will confess that I'm not necessarily all that familiar with Scott Pilgrim. I am definitely aware of it, but I have yet to read any of the comics or technically graphic novels. I haven't played any of the video games, and I have yet to actually see the Edgar Wright movie. But from the things that I have heard about it and from what I've seen about it, yeah, like it is definitely a fan favorite where it has its own unique identity. Like Scott Pilgrim is debatably iconic in its own way, with the style that it has, with the story that it's got, and especially how it is like a massive love letter to geek culture in general, especially when it comes to video games. I mean, the band is called Sex Babam. I think that is a massive clue where there is like this major video game influence, and even in the game, even in the plot line itself is very video game like, where basically you got these different bosses who are his love interest's ex, and Scott Pilgrim has to take them down one after another. So it is kind of this big loving tribute to geek culture, both with the graphic novels and with the feature film by Edgar Wright. So it kind of does, like, I could definitely see how turning this into an anime series would actually make sense, like to really emphasize the action of it all, to emphasize the mood, to pretty much present it in an over-the-top fashion that Scott Pilgrim is known how to do best. I think honestly, there is something about this that actually does work. And if this actually does come to life, I'm sure that there is going to be a prominent audience that will be in love with it, especially with the anime aspect. Like with Netflix, they do have a pretty solid track record so far when it comes to producing their own animes, and especially ones that do have a bit of a connection to video games. And probably the best example that I can think of is with their Castlevania series, like one of the biggest Netflix animated shows that you can one of the biggest and most successful animated Netflix shows that you can find in there is actually one that is based on Castlevania. And even right now, there's going to be a spin-off series that is going to be based off of it. So already they do have a pretty good track record with what they do got. So they do definitely have the materials of what they need in order to have this be created. And not to mention that Netflix is not going to be alone in this. It even states that they will be collaborating with UCP, which is the Universal group that they have experience with turning already established franchises and turn those into well-known series, which is what they already done with the Umbrella Academy, and this is what they've also done with Chucky as well. And Chucky so far is already becoming a massive hit that a lot of people are enjoying so far. And if they're capable of giving that kind of treatment to Scott Pilgrim, then I think it's honestly going to be a major win already, and especially giving a new perspective and telling the story in a brand new way. So honestly, I could totally see like how this could definitely work as well. Again, like it's kind of curious of the fact that they're reporting that this is going to happen despite the fact that there is no official series order as of yet. So there is still that chance that it may not necessarily happen, but still though, it does make me wonder, it does make me wonder, like, will this even happen? Will there be like studio conflicts as well? Because yeah, that could also be another factor of how this could like really tumble down, like to really like crumble upon itself. And that is the fact if there is going to be that studio meddling, because yeah, as well known as Netflix is and as good as they can be with their anime franchises, when it comes to popular IPs and turning them into like established Netflix shows, sometimes they don't go well. Even with some of the upcoming stuff right now, like with Avatar, for example, like Avatar The Last Airbender, they want to do a live action series on that. So far, we know that the original creators have bailed out due to creative differences, and that's never a good sign right there. And especially with what we have just recently seen with the Cowboy Bebop remake, there is still that chance that, yeah, maybe it would be. And even like also, I just want to say with the Cowboy Bebop remake, like that's another one where they also had the original creators be involved with that project as well, and that really did not go well. So if things can go badly with them, there is still that chance that it could also happen with Scott Pilgrim. But either way, though, all this so far sounds very promising, especially when they got the key players of both the original Scott Pilgrim novels and with the 2010 movie. They already got those people be involved with this. So it could, this could signify as a pretty solid comeback for Scott Pilgrim, at least in terms of the mainstream. They already got that a little bit with the movie, and with that video game as well, they got that. So maybe putting it into an anime series might be something that could be helpful for this series. Who knows? But so far, nothing is truly official yet. And even if it does become something that could actually happen, I'm not necessarily expecting a release date, either sometime later, like in the second half of 2023 at the earliest, or maybe even in 2024. But either way, I can imagine for Scott Pilgrim fans, they could definitely be excited for this. Okay, so with that said and done, I'd like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you all feel about this Scott Pilgrim anime series? If you're a Scott Pilgrim fan, tell me if you are excited by it, but are you curious to watch this out? Are you hoping for this to work? Do you trust Netflix to make this? Let me know what you think. Let's see. I've only seen the movie, but was a hell of a lot of fun. a hell a lot of fun of watching Dominique Noble do a review of the series of comics and comparing the parts from it based on the movie. Honestly, it sounds like a fun thing to adapt, and anime loves the geek main character, or otaku as they are called in Japan. Honestly, I really am excited for the sort of revitalization of Western anime-esque series. Warner Brothers, Avatar Studios, Netflix, and even Disney is planning on doing more anime because of Star Wars Visions. Okay. That's good. Yeah, some people are asking if I've seen Scott Pilgrim. I already said no, admittedly. Yeah, I know, it's kind of weird. Like, I haven't seen anything of Scott Pilgrim or read anything of Scott Pilgrim, yet I'm talking about this? What the fridge? Anyways, what else we got here? I absolutely love the Scott Pilgrim movie, so I'm really curious to see how this anime does in adapting the graphic novel. I've never read it myself, but I understand its massive following. Plus, with the involvement of Edgar Wright, this should hopefully be great. All I hope for in this anime is that they adapt the you know what, he just left scene from the movie. That's the funniest scene from any movie ever, and I will die on that hill. All right, that's nice, dude. Let's see what else we got. Like you, Matt, I haven't known all that. I don't have that much experience with Scott Pilgrim, but I have heard a lot of good things about it, whether it be the comics, the movie, or even the video game. It's also rather fitting that they do get an anime studio to make it, since Scott Pilgrim does have a bit of an anime and manga influence from the works of Ranma Half and Fooly Cooly. I'll probably check it out when it does come out. Also, I just wanted to say today is my 24th birthday. Oh, happy birthday, dude. Oh, really? I didn't expect that you would go and spend time on my podcast for you to go and celebrate it, but no, happy birthday nonetheless, King. Let's see what else we got. While I don't know much about Scott Pilgrim, this definitely seems like an interesting idea. This series definitely has a lot of potential, especially considering they have people who are familiar with the original source material. And if this can have the same quality as something like Arcane, this should have potential, so I'm down for it. Oh, absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's a good perspective from it. You see, this is one of those stories that, honestly, I need you guys to put your input on this, that you guys could be more you guys would be more resourceful, and you guys would be more informative to talk about this more than I do. So this is why I'm thankful that I do have the chat wall and that I do have you guys, so that like you can have more interesting things to say about it than I would. All right. Anyways, moving right along. This looks very promising. I didn't read Scott Pilgrim comics, but I have seen the Edgar Wright movie myself, and I thought it was awesome. I do hope they can make the series great and be something like Castlevania and Arcane, so I do wish them the best of luck if it gets made. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we move on. That piece of news seems pretty intriguing and surprising to me. I remember watching Scott Pilgrim vs. the World back in 2019, and I thought it was pretty good. Michael Cera did an excellent performance in the title. I bet a Scott Pilgrim anime should be a lot of fun and awesome to watch. I can hope Netflix will not screw up the original source material, much like they did with Cowboy Bebop and other adaptations. Exactly. It won't be a while until we may get this, but if we do, let's just hope for the best. Okay, now moving on to our next story. What I'm going to be covering here is probably the most popular trend so far of 2022. Something that has taken social media by storm right now. And this is something that has been going on for many years. It is a long battle, a long feud that has been happening that many people were completely unaware of. But now there is a light that has been shined on it. And there is so much fascination regarding this. And with that said, let's go ahead and check out the feud of Elmo versus Rocco. So, for those of you who don't know what happened, on social media, if you guys are on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram or anything like that, then you are probably aware about the whole feud of Elmo versus Rocco. And the thing is that on Sesame Street, there is this running gag that's been going around where Elmo would constantly be fed up with his best friend Zoe's pet rock named Rocco, where Zoe would bring Rocco around and, have Rocco be like part of the family, be included in whatever crazy adventures or playtime that Zoe and Elmo would have. And Elmo would just have none of it. What, like the craps that he may have, he's not going to give any to Rocco. And there are a lot of moments when Elmo would just absolutely snap. In fact, let me just show you one example of this. Like, there are plenty of examples that you could actually find on Facebook, on YouTube or social media, but this is one of the more well-known ones where Elmo is just upset of the fact that he cannot have his favorite cookie, and it was given to Rocco.
That's okay, Gabby. Elmo will just take this one. No, wait, Elmo. Rocco says that he wants the oatmeal raisin cookie. Rocco? Rocco's a rock, Zoe. Rocco won't know the difference. Yes, he will. You can't have that cookie, Elmo. Rocco wants to eat it. How? How is Rocco going to eat that cookie, Zoe? Tell Elmo. Rocco doesn't even have a mouth. Rocco's just a rock. Rocco's not alive. He is too alive. Boy.
Hey, now calm down, you two.
Boy. All day long, Rocco's been getting his way. And now Zoe's saying Elmo can't even have his favorite cookie because she wants to give it to a rock.
So yeah, that's one prominent example. One of the many examples of just Elmo being fed up with Rocco. And yeah, you'll probably find that there are tons of articles of people just talking about it. And here are a few examples from my article here on Complex of just people commenting on that on social media. Here's one example from Nicholas Dormahal. I think that's how you say it. The Elmo versus Rocco saga is one of the most astounding things I've ever seen. The funniest part is that Elmo is never wrong, but he keeps getting scolded for not playing along. And Zoe gaslights the crap out of him in every situation. The birthday party was the worst. Or even another example from Angie J. Han. On one hand, Elmo is a petty king. On the other hand, Zoe is a gaslighting legend. Truly, I cannot pick a side here. I revere them both. So that's kind of the big situation, and a lot of people have this massive fascination of Elmo and his feud with Rocco. In fact, even Elmo himself has actually responded to this entire trend, and even Elmo actually stated on social media, "Don't worry, I don't know why the French I can't speak. Anyways, don't worry, everybody. Elmo and Zoe practice sharing and are still best buds forever. Elmo loves you, Zoe." Elmo doesn't want to talk about Rocco. He even also commented, on an extra side, "Has anybody ever seen a rock eat a cookie? Elmo is just curious." So that's pretty much the big thing that we are seeing right over here. It's just Elmo getting so pissed off at a godforsaken rock. And honestly, I understand, the true fascination of it, and it's honestly pretty funny. And as a Jim Henson fan myself, I've already known a little bit about this whole feud of Elmo and Rocco. Especially, one thing that I do enjoy watching is chaotic Sesame Street videos. It's like these compilations of Sesame Street episodes in which you see characters just flip their lid, where they go completely out of character and they just blast at whoever is there and whatever the situation may be that they get so pissed off. A good example outside of this is with Big Bird, when Big Bird was trying to go and catch a bus with his dog. You probably know his dog friend. I unfortunately forgot the name of it, but it was a moment where Big Bird was just pissed off. It was like, "Oh, for God's sake, we missed the godforsaken bus. What are we gonna do now? We gotta freaking walk? We gotta call a cab? Oh, no, wait, you can't call anybody because you're a freaking dog." If you're a Sesame Street fan, you probably do remember that particular moment. But yeah, there are like plenty of those that you could go and watch, and there are a lot of them that actually do include the feud of Elmo and Rocco. And again, what we just saw is just one little example of Elmo getting mad as hell over a godforsaken rock. And you know, the funny thing is that I do get why it is so mainstream. I do get why people have such a fascination. And I think really it's the factor that this is a moment where Elmo feels like he's very much out of character. This is like, when you think about Elmo, when you think about his character and who he is, you will, like, normally you would think of him as like a wide-eyed 5-year-old, always optimistic, always like caring, always loving of whoever is around him, who loves his family, who loves his friends, who loves his community, and is always curious about the world around him, and has a well-known, vivid, and wonderful imagination. And then when it comes to this scenario with Zoe, with his best friend, having a rock in which she considers to be another friend of hers, Elmo just ain't having it. Like, whatever traits that Elmo has is known for being Elmo, yeah, he's got to let go. He's got to let go of all of that and just say, all right, listen here. That thing's a freaking rock. I don't give a crap about whatever you say about it. I ain't playing along on this thing. You're talking to a rock. I don't care what that is. I want that. Give me that freaking cookie. It ain't like the rock ain't gonna freaking eat that cookie. Like, you know, it just feels very out of place. And whenever you see Elmo actually get upset or actually flip his lid, there are also other moments as well when Elmo would get upset at Jimmy Fallon as well. Those are also absolutely hilarious. But when they do happen, they're actually pretty funny. And and you know, the thing is that normally in these situations, when you hear characters getting out of character and getting upset, like, normally some people would think of it as a bad thing, but there's just something about it here. Feels like it's very, you know, it still stays true to the Muppet spirit per se. Like, even though Elmo is presenting qualities and like tempers that would be more associated with characters like Kermit or Miss Piggy, in here, it feels like it still makes sense, and it still feels like a Muppety kind of scenario, and especially with the way that Elmo would like flip his lid and get angry, it still feels true to how the Muppets are the Muppets with that kind of behavior. So it does add in to the humor as well. And on top of that, there's also another factor that it actually does ring very true to real life. There's that aspect where there is kind of a relatable scenario, and that it actually does seem very true to like how we would interact with children nowadays. And it's actually something that is very common, and I'm sure that we all personally would go through. Like, there is a time that, like, for almost every child out there is a moment where we would take either an imaginary friend, or we would take an object or a toy like a doll or something like that, and we would treat them like a real human being, that we would treat them no differently like how we would treat our family members and how we would treat our friends, and we would show them love and affection and stuff like that. But we would show them in a way where we would actually treat them like people, and we would put them in scenarios where, like, we want other people to, like, you know, play along with the whole bit and stuff like that, you know, that we, you know, that like they view them as like a friend and as a person. So like the adults would also view them as a friend or a person. In fact, there are some adults nowadays that would actually do this kind of thing where they would treat their inanimate object, or they would treat their doll or their toys like an actual person, in the same way that Zoe would with a rock. And there are two kinds of people in this case, where there are some people that they would just play along, that they would be supportive to them, and they would have the mentality that, well, if they're not hurting anyone with it, then that's perfectly fine. And then there are those that are like Elmo, where they feel like, okay, there are so many moments where this thing is just inconveniencing me, and like it's giving me problems. I ain't having it. That rock, it gotta go. So there are those two people in this case. And there's actually one comment that I did read, actually did perfectly summarize the whole scenario, where like there are some good qualities and some bad qualities on both sides in this case, where when it comes to Elmo, yeah, what he's doing is kind of petty and it's kind of douchey, where like it feels very self-indulgent in a way that like he's acting rather selfish instead of like helping out his friends and stuff like that. But then there's the other side where when it comes to Zoe, like, yeah, she can pretty much be gaslighting Elmo because like she sees nothing wrong with the scenario, thinks that like what she's doing with Rocco is perfectly fine. And whenever Elmo is getting upset, that's his problem. That ain't the problem of Zoe or with Rocco or anything like that. So it does add like, so funny enough, like with this little Sesame Street bit, there is a very interesting commentary regarding the concept of imaginary friends or like humanizing inanimate objects in a way where for children it's kind of a way to like cope through life and like, you know, learn about social skills and be friendly to others and stuff like that. But there is also that other factor that like they kind of feel a bit out of touch with reality, and for some people it just kind of like pisses them off, especially for godforsaken Elmo, where Elmo is just having none of it. There's even one picture, oh my god, like on social media, you've probably seen it. It's so funny where Zoe would sing like this theme song for Rocco, and all you see is just Elmo, just like this blank murderous stare. Like he's just staring, like he's just legit staring at the camera going like, oh my god, it was just so funny seeing that facial expression on Elmo. Like the best way to describe it is that Elmo has that same kind of facial expression that you would expect in anime. It's like, you know, when you watch an anime and there's always that one shot where they go really close to the character's forehead and it kind of has that fisheye lens effect, and it's kind of like symbolizing that they have lost their mind. Yeah, that's kind of the shot that I'm kind of noticing with Elmo as well. That's like that kind of shot, but it's given to Elmo out of all godforsaken characters. But like, even though there is like a truthful commentary to this that is very interesting to dive deep into, like there is that like fascination commentary on childhood and stuff like that, but still though it is absolutely hilarious, and it's really nice to see all the different compilations and all the different little clips of just Elmo being completely chaotic and just loses it over a godforsaken rock. It is absolutely funny, and it's just, you know, it's just a lot of fun, at least to play along. Not necessarily play along Zoe's game, but to play along in this whole trend. It's absolutely a lot of fun, and so far, like, this is one of the things that is helping out to have us go through 2022, is to give us memes like this. So yeah, I thought it would be fun to go and have a quick commentary on that one, especially when it's as I'm recording this, it's still heavily trending to this day. It's just a lot of fun to go and talk about. Okay, so with that said and done, I'd like to know from you guys on the chat wall, what do you all think about the Elmo versus Rocco meme? Are you guys enjoying this meme? What are your thoughts on the commentary aspect with the imaginary friends or humanizing inanimate objects idea? Let me know what you all think about all this. Oh, and also, I just want to add, if you can, what is your favorite Elmo versus Rocco moment? Like, what's your favorite moment of Elmo losing it because of Rocco? Well, you could also add that as well. Let's see what we have. Well, this most certainly is some news that I would not expect to be trending, but anyways, I do actually find the whole Elmo versus Rocco thing pretty funny. I don't know why, but whenever I see puppet characters like from Sesame Street or the Muppets getting angry at another Muppet, I find it really funny. Also, Matt, if you really want to have a good laugh at characters of Sesame Street arguing with each other, then look at the videos where Kermit and Cookie Monster argue. Seriously, they are absolutely hilarious. Oh my god, I know exactly what you're talking about. Oh, like the yeah, like I remember like there's one bit in particular that is so funny, is Kermit and Cookie Monster, where Cookie Monster has to guess what's in a box, and it was actually an orange. And for the longest time, like the only thing that Cookie Monster has in his head, of course, is just a cookie. Like that's pretty much it. So that's another wonderful bit right there. And also like it's kind of, and also that's another proof about like how not many people really know Kermit the Frog, because I remember some of the criticisms that people have given towards the 2015 Muppet series, and a lot of them say that Kermit feels a bit too mean-spirited and he feels too angry and yells at people. And I'm just sitting there like, yeah, you guys don't know Kermit. Like, he does that often on the Muppet Show, and especially on Sesame Street as well. Like that frog just absolutely loses it. Let's see what we have here. Batman has the Joker, Mario has Bowser, Luke has Darth Vader, and Elmo has Mother Flippin' Rocco. Just seeing Elmo get this furious about a singular rock is so hilarious, and I can't stop laughing at it. That one clip where Elmo just bites a sentient cheese. As for my favorite clip from the whole story, it is either the one where Zoe told Elmo that Rocco had to go to the potty and he just goes, "What?" Or the one where Elmo accidentally touches Rocco's butt. Oh my god, that is true. Like the one where like, yeah, that's another one where it feels like Elmo is just out of character. It's like, Elmo wants to play. Hey, look, here's Zoe. Zoe's gonna play with Elmo. Hi, yeah, I just had to take Rocco to the potty. What? It's just like Elmo has to stop his cheerful attitude just to be like, what did you say? Are you freaking serious, Zoe? Okay, anyways, it shows that Elmo has not seen SpongeBob. That shows a rock having nerves of steel. Also, with Elmo staring at the camera, who wants an alternate universe where Stanley Kubrick makes a film adaptation of Sesame Street? Also, as you know how bizarre 2022 has started with Elmo having a grudge with rocks and seeing the Pope listening to a boss fight music from Undertale. Yeah, that's also another thing that got trending, is that apparently there was a show that was presented in front of a pope. It was like some kind of like gymnastics show, and they decided out of all the songs to go with Megalovania. So yes, it was a legitimate moment where the song was played in front of the Pope. Who knew that when you would see one of the holiest people on earth, one of the songs that would appear would be all right, anyways, moving right along. Honestly, I am into memes, but while this is funny, seeing Elmo getting furious over a rock is the funniest thing this week. As a kid, I always hated that rock, but now I am enjoying the meme right now. Makes me feel better about my childhood. I really love Sesame Street so much growing up, like everyone else. Yeah, and another comment did bring up a very good point of the fact that, like, another part that makes it hilarious is that when puppets get angry, it's absolutely hilarious, and that also comes with the factor of like either the Muppets or even like with Sesame Street, like with Elmo. It's like hearing him flip his lid is just absolutely hilarious. Let's see. I'll read. I think I'll read one more comment before we move on to the final story. Jokingly, I think Elmo is angry because Rocco is in his modern life. Haven't seen Elmo like this since his interview with Rob McManus, or the time Elmo got angry at Zoe for his blanket in Elmo in Grouchland. This also reminds me of two other characters who have rocks for pets: Maud Pie from My Little Pony and Patrick Star in the SpongeBob episode The Great Snail Race. Even SpongeBob and Rainbow Dash called out, "He's a rock!" And Patrick had to reply, "Yeah, but he's got nerves of steel." Oh my god, I would love to see. I would actually love to see that. Like, oh my god, that would actually make a great Elmo reaction video. Elmo watches The Great Snail Race. I want to see that happen. Like, make that happen, Sesame Street. I'm sure you can make some kind of collaboration with Nickelodeon. Just have Elmo watch The Great Snail Race. Just see who the winner is. I'm sure Elmo would be quite surprised at the result. All right, folks, this is it. It is now time that we have the moment that we've been waiting for after all we've talked about. The grand finale. And I decided, considering that we started this with the award season and Encanto, we're going to go and end this off with the award season and Encanto. And that's mainly because there's this one article in particular that talked about the recent loving trend of, about the recent trend of Encanto and how right now it's one of the most beloved movies out there, that everybody's talking about it, everybody is making art, everybody is making memes, and everybody is quoting the songs and stuff like that. And one song in particular that is now considered to be a major fan favorite that people are absolutely adoring. If there is one song that a lot of people would say it's their fave, it's gotta be We Don't Talk About Bruno. And yet, what's very interesting is that even if people love We Don't Talk About Bruno, that doesn't seem to be the big awards contender. Because out of all of them, they somehow picked Dos Oruguitas. And this is mainly coming from this article here called Encanto's We Don't Talk About Bruno is topping the charts, so why didn't Disney submit it for the Oscars? This is a Variety article by Clayton Davis, which does provide some interesting commentary regarding the recent trend of Encanto, and especially regarding the choice of music for award season, and especially with the popularity of what's going on with the Encanto music. Even right now, as I'm recording this, the number one album in the Billboard Top 200 is actually Encanto. And even though there's a lot of fan favorites that a lot of people really love, not just We Don't Talk About Bruno, but also Waiting for a Miracle, and even Surface Pressure is getting some popularity also. However, Dos Oruguitas, the song that would play, like the loving, romantic Spanish love ballad that would play while we see the backstory of Abuela, that's the one that has been chosen to be the big awards contender, and not something like We Don't Talk About Bruno that everyone is pretty much obsessed about. Why? Why is that? It seems like a very curious case. Now, I've read the article that does go into the current stance of like the Oscars with Encanto, with the popularity of the songs, and why they would go with Dos Oruguitas instead of We Don't Talk About Bruno. And the big reason, well, I think like what would summarize it best, it would actually be right over here. And it states, one significant factor is the Academy's deadline for song submissions, which must be completed by November 1st. At that point, the film hadn't opened in theaters yet and hadn't screened for critics, so without knowing how audiences will react, studios rely on gut checks and the passions of their talent to guide them. So really, for Disney, it really is just a guessing game of what would be considered their best song. What would be the big award contender that would for sure get them the trophy, would get them the Oscar, the Golden Globe, the Grammy, or whatever? What would ultimately get them the big win for their song? And like the article said, it really is just this massive guessing game because they don't know how they would react to it. The movie was yet to be released. And honestly, when you do look back at it, it's actually very fascinating because it really does say a lot about what songs would end up getting nominated, especially for movies that would be released by the end of the year. And this is actually a very common case for Disney, where it really does feel like a massive gamble. Because yes, when it comes to We Don't Talk About Bruno, one thing that I will say is that I kind of do feel like there is kind of this relief when it comes to the We Don't Talk About Bruno song, because the big thing is that for me personally, I feel like it's the song that I end up listening to the most. Like, I don't know if I would say it's my favorite. Like, I really like this soundtrack, but like in general, it's a very solid soundtrack that it has here. But when it comes to We Don't Talk About Bruno, that's the one I end up gravitating the most because it's the most fun. It's the most creative and the most enjoyable, especially when they play around with all the different family members. You know, that one was great. And honestly, I'm glad that I'm not the only one, especially with how it is trending on social media and even everybody making memes with Camilo, where they would go and like like I've seen so many times, like probably on a daily basis, where people would be quoting Camilo's part of like 7-foot frame, rats are on his back. When he calls your name, it all fades to black. When he sees your dreams, he feasts on your screams. Yeah, so there's just a lot of great moments in that song, and it definitely is a lot of fun. But when it comes to award season, did Disney know about it when they had to go and submit it? Well, the answer is no. And again, when you do look back at like some of the previous times when Disney songs would legitimately get nominated, it's often a gamble because you never know what would actually go and actually grab the win. Yeah, there are a few instances where like the choices can be very easy. Like with Coco, for example, there was only one prominent song in there, and that was Remember Me. And that's it. Okay, well, that's pretty easy. Just take Remember Me, put it in the nominations, and see what happens. Oh, look, they won. So at least they do have that. And then there are other times where it can feel like it is the obvious choice. Like with Frozen, for example, when that movie came out, I think like even behind the scenes, like they knew Let It Go is their top, it's their top song. It's the big legendary one. In fact, Let It Go is the reason why we have Frozen today. Like that is the one song that ultimately shaped Frozen and ended the decades long challenge of Disney trying to adapt Hans Christian Andersen's The Snow Queen. So of course, more than anything else, they would have to go and pick Let It Go to be nominated for award season. And that ended up paying off beautifully, where that also got a whole bunch of awards for Best Original Song. But then there are times when they end up missing their mark. And there are times like sometimes they do make the right decisions, but they don't end up working as well as they would hope for. Like one good example is How Far I'll Go. I think it is the best choice that they would go with How Far I'll Go. I mean, there have been some other songs that could be some pretty solid choices like We Know the Way or You're Welcome. But I think like the true standout song of Moana is How Far I'll Go. So they made the right decision. It didn't win, but hey, at least they tried. But then there are also other instances where they have to guess, but they're not only off their mark in terms of the award choice, but also in terms of what would be the fan favorite. And I think the best example of that would have to be Frozen 2. You guys probably remember, like, around 2 years ago, Frozen 2 was kind of like in the same position as Encanto right now, where it was currently the most talked about animated feature and like one of the big dominant forces at the box office. And the big Oscar contender, the big award contender that Disney wanted to push for the songs is Into the Unknown. They know that Into the Unknown is the big Elsa number that is similar to Let It Go, so that's the one that they really pushed hard for. But did that end up becoming the fan favorite? No. That ultimately went to Show Yourself, the second big Elsa number that, well, debatably, like, yeah, Disney didn't nominate that because that would be like in major spoiler territory, because that's when Elsa discovers who that voice actually was when she actually made it to Ata Holland. But still, though, that is one song that a lot of people seem to have resonated so much more than Into the Unknown. And even for me personally, like, I love both songs, but even I have to admit that, yeah, if there is one that I personally find to be better than another, it has to be Show Yourself. And when it comes to, and then like we come to right here with Dos Oruguitas and the choice and choosing that instead of We Don't Talk About Bruno. So that kind of does lead to the big question. Why did Disney select Dos Oruguitas instead of the other songs? Why not Waiting for a Miracle? Why not We Don't Talk About Bruno? Why not What Else Can I Do? Why not Surface Pressure? And the reason why Disney went with that one, well, honestly, the guesses that people have been saying so far is that it is the safest bet so far. That one is the safest bet that would feel more appealing towards the Academy, the ones that like the ones that would seem like it would be most likely to be present during award season, the one that like it's supposed to be like this very powerful and meaningful story, as well as reflecting very well of what the movie is, like really highlighting the diversity aspect where it is mainly in Spanish, highlighting the love story that we do see during the time that it would play, including where we see like the origin story of where the casita came from and what happened to Abuela's husband and stuff like that. So like it really is the safest bet for them in terms of what would be considered like an Oscar-worthy song, if you will. Personally, I always presumed that it would be Waiting for a Miracle because I felt like it's the kind of song, like Waiting for a Miracle for me, like that one I would say is one of my personal favorites in Encanto, because that's kind of like what how can I put this? Well, Waiting for a Miracle in Encanto is what Let It Go is in Frozen, and what How Far I'll Go is in Moana. It has that powerful punch. It shows the emotional side of the main character, what they want in life, what they want to do, and has like that powerful gravitas and kind of that relatability in terms of like not feeling as special, but you want to be more than how people view you and stuff like that. Like I always thought that would be like the for sure contender, but it looks like Disney did have other plans. And the question is right now, with that said, did Disney make the wrong decision? Should they have nominated the other songs like We Don't Talk About Bruno, or should they have nominated Waiting for a Miracle? Well, I think at this point, if the Golden Globes is any indication, I think honestly, whatever decision they may have made, it probably does not necessarily matter. I don't think it's really something that matters all that much, because ultimately the winner is most likely going to be Billie Eilish and her song with No Time to Die, especially when it is like that's supposed to be like the new major James Bond song. I don't think Disney would have anything at their disposal that could overshadow like whatever James Bond would have. So either way, like in terms of that, it probably didn't matter. But still though, I don't blame Disney for the decision they have to make, because it's not an easy decision, and it really is ultimately a guessing game because the deadline really is disadvantageous for them. But still though, it does, at least for me, it doesn't change the fact that the soundtrack in general is just beautiful. It's awesome. And it's another amazing contribution by Lin-Manuel Miranda, that he has done some impeccable work with the music, regardless if it's either from Moana, if it's from Vivo, or if it's from Encanto. It's just great work all around. But still, I find that this is just very fascinating to go and talk about, especially with the current popularity of Encanto right now. And in terms of the choice of songs, where out of all of them, it's the Spanish love ballad that end up getting the most recognition in terms of the awards. So with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you all think about Disney's choice of choosing Dos Oruguitas to be the awards contender instead of something like We Don't Talk About Bruno, or Waiting for a Miracle, or Surface Pressure, or anything like that? And also, what is your favorite Encanto song? Let me know what you think. Okay, let's see what we have here. Do we have any comments? Okay. We Don't Talk About Bruno is my favorite Encanto song, mostly because of Camilo and Dolores' verse, but Dos Oruguitas, Oruguitas honestly makes more sense. It's a beautiful ballad detailing an incredible love story that it entirely made me forget that I completely hate Abuela Alma. Speaking of Encanto songs, if you need a good vibe, go to Jessica Darrow, the voice of Luisa's TikTok page, and listen to the jazz rendition of Surface Pressure. It's the best. Ooh, that is actually interesting. And actually, you know what? Like, I just realized this, but I think like a big part as to why, like, this is just my theory, but a big reason as to why We Don't Talk About Bruno is so beloved is mainly because of the fact that it's a villain song without it actually being about a villain. Because this is keep in mind, we haven't had a legitimate Disney villain in years. The closest was maybe in Raya and the Last Dragon, but even at that, not really. But still though, we haven't had like a true Disney villain, or let alone a Disney villain song. And this is kind of the closest thing we've gotten because of the way that it portrays Bruno as a villain. And I mean, villain songs can often be so much fun, rather it be Prepared or Poor Unfortunate Soul. Like they can often be an absolute blast. And this definitely does fit that criteria. Let's see now. Okay, with Disney picking Dos Oruguitas over We Don't Talk About Bruno for award season, including the Oscars, might be a misfire. Yes, it's good, but don't think this is a song where everyone is going to remember or sing about. Because of this, it might hurt Encanto a bit in winning the Oscars, and it'll likely go to No Time to Die by Billie Eilish, or this'll hurt winning Best Animated Feature given how Frozen and Coco won both awards, so it could be the downfall. Well, I don't think it could be the major downfall because it didn't pick the right song. I don't think that really is the case. I think honestly, like, I don't know if it really is a misfire. And again, like, I don't know if there would be any song that could go and convince the Academy otherwise to not pick No Time to Die. Like, I'm honestly in the position where I think, like, regardless of what the decision may be, even if they do pick We Don't Talk About Bruno instead of Dos Oruguitas, I think that I think like either way, it's gonna go to No Time to Die regardless, because, well, it's a James Bond movie, and James Bond movies, usually they would be a favorite in Best Original Songs, even like with last time with Skyfall by Adele. Let's see what else we have here. This is surprising. People over TikTok are using the song, and some people are simping for Bruno. I wonder if Sesame Street will make a parody called We Don't Talk About Rocco, or David Fincher making a musical based on Fight Club called We Don't Talk About Fight Club. I could probably see I could probably see Sesame Street make some kind of parody out of it. But I don't know about the David Fincher thing. Let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. Frozen had Let It Go, then Into the Unknown. Moana had How Far I'll Go. Encanto had We Don't Talk About Bruno. And Hosada's Belle, in my opinion, A Million Miles Away. Seriously, go check it on YouTube, both in Japanese and English. It's a delight for the ears and soul. Oh yeah, I mean, I still need to watch Belle. Like, if I can't watch it on the big screen, so I need to wait until G-Kids can release it on Blu-ray or something. Let's see. Personally, I do understand why Dos Oruguitas was the big choice to nominate for Encanto. Personally, I don't think it really matters which song would get nominated, considering I find all the songs to be fantastic. Although personally, I do consider We Don't Talk About Bruno as my favorite song for the movie, but regardless, I think all the songs are fantastic. All right, that's nice. I'll read one more comment before we go. So, when I first listened to We Don't Talk About Bruno back in October during Animation is Film, I figured this song was going to be a fan favorite. I was 100% right. Makes me feel thankful being somewhat a part of Encanto's journey. I got a chance to see the movie a week before its official release, being Twitter friends with Adasa, the voice of Dolores, and now it's one of my favorites in the Disney animation canon. Well, that's definitely nice. And I think with that said, that should conclude it with this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for joining me on this. This was an absolute blast of an episode, and hopefully we can continue this kind of energy moving forward in 2022. So with all that said and done, I would like to say thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for listening, and tune in next week for more crazy adventures on this podcast. And until next time, see ya later, dudes.